let's start that again. Oh, what an absolute sodding... Oh. I don't know what the hell happened there. Okay, let's transfer this over. Streams. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So I'll clarify what happened in just a moment. Just want to make sure everything is actually going okay, you know. Put that one on. Let's clean this thing up, shall we? Sheesh almighty. Right, that should now be fine. Make sure I got the stream up so I can actually when that's live. Okay, just quick motion test. Make sure I got the right one on. Okay then, so we're all good. No Union Pacific fan, it does not. So, okay, so just to quickly go over what the hell happened just there. Come back to stream in a minute. Okay. So, again, what happened here was because I am live streaming from my tablets, I'm kind of relying on my tablet not to muck up. And simply put, my tablet just decided to freeze. It just completely froze up and shut down the YouTube app. I don't know how or why, and frankly, I don't really care for it either. That should be okay with Discord. That's okay there. I don't need that one. So that's got rid of. Okay, right, we're back. We're good. Okay. Oh, I don't know how many people are going to come back to the stream because given the incident. So that is the dumbest thing. So I've deleted that old stream because there wasn't anything going on with that, and I don't want people to see that and think something's going to happen with it because it was just pointless. We're going to keep this new VOD. Hopefully things don't break down this time. So that all being said, where were we? Okay, we were talking about statistics. So to briefly go over what happened previously. Yes, oh bloody nose. There's nothing going right today, for fuck's sake. Hate it. Anyway, so 113 submissions came through for the TLR Awards. Lovely stuff. 6 of them got disqualified, leaving 107 valid submissions to go through for the judging process. The judging process is going to happen within the coming weeks. We need to find an available time for myself and the judges to become free for a day to go through these models, because 107 models, that's going to take a lot of time to look at them all and kind of pick a winner. So there will be a winner per category. And they're right behind me. Give me a sec. No, this does not count as part of the outro. Yeah, here we go. Just grabbing one of the prizes. So, there are 3 categories: Best Individual Display, Best Locomotive, and Best Wagon. The winner of each category will win a 1x8 printed brick for the category that they won. This Lego City train pack, which is a very nice thing to have because you can never have enough track. a £20 voucher for the website TechBrick, and a £35 voucher for the website Brecklin Bricks, which both have a lot of content that are LEGO compatible for the LEGO train hobby. I want to, having said that, I wanted to take a quick opportunity to say thank you to TechBrick and Brecklin Bricks for sponsoring the Triton LEGO Railway and the TLR Awards. It was probably the best thing I got going for the TLR Awards, some proper prizes. Otherwise, I'd have to buy a few stock items to give out as prizes, which was the original plan. But I think something like this makes it a bit more official, which is very exciting. Right, with all that out of the way, let's actually have a look at the statistics, the proper numbers this time. So let me just make sure everything is all here. Everything's okay still. Yes, nothing's cursed. All good to go. Right, that'll do for me. Okay. So with, hang on, let me cross my legs. I want to make sure I'm sitting a bit more comfy. So with 107 individual submissions coming through, I wanted to have a chart of sorts just to, have a bit of fun with, because I don't really know why I made this to begin with, but I thought it'd be nice to kind of just catalog it and look at it in a bit more of a statistical way. So there were 59 locomotive submissions made. 37 of them were physical brick-built models. 22 of them were digital. And this was something that I think was also a very wise move. I had this competition open internationally, and I also permitted digital and physical models. And whilst not everyone has the ability to build physically, it's still something where you can build something digital and allow more people to enter. And you will see something more exciting in a digital format than you could possibly see in a brick built format. So once again, 59 models for the locomotive category, 37 of them physical, 22 of them digital. Next, we have the wagon category, which had 37 models entered. 26 of them were physical, and 11 of them were digital. And I didn't kind of realize until I counted up all the models at the end of, well, not the end of today, but at the end of the entry process, where went through counting all the models and making sure everything was all there, that there were not that many digital wagons entered compared to physical ones. And it's quite interesting. It's not as wide of a gap as the locomotive one, but even then, with 37 uh, wagons being entered, nearly a quarter of them were digital, and it's quite an interesting thing to think about, because a third of the, well, nearly a third, I should say, of the locomotive entries are digital. So once we go from a third to a quarter to almost a half with the individual displays, 11 individual displays were entered, which was interesting because in the last 2 or so days of the awards, about half of the display submissions that came through on those last 2 days, which is very funny. 6 of them were physical, 5 of them were digital. So again, going from a quarter of digital models, or sorry, I should say a third quarter with locomotives, a quarter digital with the wagons, and nearly half of the individual displays are digital. Oh, pardon me. So once again, 59 locomotives, 37 wagons, and 11 displays, totaling 107 overall that made it through. The total amount of physical entries that got through is 69, nice, leaving 38 submissions coming through being digital. And I think that's a pretty good ratio. This definitely shows, again, like I mentioned earlier, that it was ultimately wiser to allow and accept digital submissions because, again, not everyone has the ability to build physical. So that's just over a third or so of the overall submissions being digital. If I didn't allow that to begin with, which I very nearly did, I very nearly cut off the digital acceptance to have it just physical brick built only, I would have, that would basically be a very small number. I don't think, well, in particular, it being 60 nice again, that's quite nice. But at the same time, that alone is an impressive thing for me to see because I did not think I would get that many to begin with, which is just staggering. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this stream and the previous stream that's failed to continue properly, 113 submissions came through overall, with 6 of them being disqualified. 6 disqualified entries is something that I didn't expect to have to disqualify a submission, which I think was very foolish of me because it's something that has happened before with the Brick Train Awards, but I don't know why I didn't think it would happen here. But when I got the first one disqualified, it was a very understandable reason because someone entered a model that wasn't theirs. But at the same time, with all the other ones, I thought, it's a thing that happened, I suppose, which is a very interesting thing. 9 of the participants came from fellow LUKR members, so it's very good to see some support from my fellow club mates. And now we have 2 more sections that have their own sort of names. These don't really mean anything. It's more for statistical reasons. So this first category, I've labeled it as minds alike. Great minds think alike. It comes from that. So these are models that have been built by more than one person who entered the TLR Awards. So the TLR Awards saw 2 Great Western Auto coaches entered, 2 Great Western 14XX tank engines, 2 Thomas the Tank Engine models, 2 Percy the Small Tank Engine models, 2 Great Western brake vans, which is very interesting to see because there's a lot of Great Western going on here. There were 2 Great Western 1361s, which is a very obscure engine. A fellow clubmate has built one, but to see someone else make an enter one, it was a very, again, a fascinating thing to go, oh my god, there's another one of them. There were 3 Polar Express locomotives entered, and a grand total of 13 models that were themed around the Thomas the Tank Engine series. And yeah, it's a very interesting to see, what was being entered to begin with. Again, 4 of these submissions are Great Western themed, which is fascinating in of itself because every now and then we kind of do we as in club mates kind of poke our fun at Great Western stuff, but it's a very fascinating to see, okay, more than one person enter the same Great Western themed model, which is just excellent. Now you could enter 3 models per category, totaling 9 submissions overall. 5 people are tied with entering the most amount of models into the TLR Awards. 5 people have each entered 6 models. So, sorry, stand by again because this is really getting on my nerves. I really need to tidy this up, and I do apologize for this, but this is there for a reason. Nobody wants to see this. There we go. Right, so as we were talking about just now, the most submissions entered by someone who entered the TLR Awards to begin with. 5 people entered 6 models. So Ewart from Australia entered 2 locos, 3 wagons, and 1 display. Jay Graham entered 3 locos and 3 wagons. Jonah S entered 3 locos, 2 wagons, and 1 display. Paul Senior entered 3 locos and 3 wagons, as did Pierce Bricks, 3 locos and 3 wagons. So that's 5 people who entered the TLR Awards, each entering 6 models total. That is very cool to see because the more models you enter, the greater the chances you have of winning something. And they have all entered some fantastic models. The judging process is going to be a bit difficult because obviously there's a lot of models to go over to begin with. It definitely increases their chances of winning, but at the same time, I can't make any calls at the moment. Looking at this as well, having seen Paul Senior's name appear here, I do have a... Oh, actually, I can't read that out because that's for something else. Ah, that's a bit of a shame there. This is a duck. Hello, good to see you. The reviewer says... Oh, first of all, hello, reviewer, good to see you. Did you know that Postman Pat had a VHS in the US? No, I did not know that. It's good to see Postman Pat. I suppose back then at least, because, VHS, that's 40 years old now? 30, 40 years old? That was a good show though, wasn't it? Yes, so what with this, but I can spin this in a bit of a different way, something that could potentially work in a more analytical way that doesn't spoil anything. On Facebook, the models that got posted there tend to receive a lot more likes because I am posting this in a Lego Railway themed group page that has at the moment 9,000 members, which is a very cool thing to see because that's a lot of people seeing the awards, and that's probably what brought in a couple more people. Now, if I did these awards just on my YouTube page, I think this would not be anywhere near as successful. Even if I kept all the rules the same, I don't think I would even have half of the amount of submissions I have here. Some club members might enter, but even then, I think only a few would do so. I think some of the people who entered this competition have obviously never heard of it. There was definitely a number of people who entered the competition that had not kind of heard of me before. They're definitely not people who have been active on my YouTube page. Again, like Discord, for example, the streams here, the people that never appeared in chat. And it was very cool to see some people outside of my subscriber base come along and enter the competition. That was very cool. So in particular, there were a few models that got triple digit likes on Facebook, which is a very cool thing to see. There were only three models. There were only three models that got posted on Facebook that received 100+ likes on the post, and that's something that definitely helps when it comes to the winner of the public favorites. The most amount of likes that's got posted on YouTube, again, so when a submission was made, I'm posting it both on the Facebook page Lego Rail and on my YouTube community tab. So whilst a lot of the Facebook ones got loads of likes, again, a couple of them got triple digit likes. The most amount of likes that any of my YouTube posts got was 46. And again, for me, I suppose, again, not everyone really sees community posts, but at the same time, that's a lot of likes. That's really good, especially for me. So yeah, that's definitely a very interesting thing to kind of take in and consider, but that's definitely done its part. So yeah, whilst there were 107 overall submissions that made it through, there were a total of 38 individual people who took part. And whilst that might kind of lower how things kind of sound, at the same time, it makes sense because, 5 people entered 6 models. That's definitely going to take into account that's, 30 of the overall submissions came from, a bunch of different sources. But 38 individual people took part in the awards, and that is, again, I think that's probably more than I anticipated. This definitely comes into effect that some of the people that took part came from Facebook. In particular, Ewart, who entered a couple of models. I've seen his work on Facebook before. He's not a subscriber of mine. He's not someone I've interacted with on any kind of level like this. I've left a comment on a couple of his posts. He's left a comment on a couple of my posts. It kind of works like that. And yeah, it was very cool to see him enter because a lot of the builders that took part in the TLR Awards are amazing builders. Oh, so yeah, there is all of that. I suppose I should take that to there. Yeah, we go. Okay, so that's basically all of the statistics and the analytics I have for the TLR Awards. It's a very cool thing to, again, kind of see this. I'm currently going through the process of getting all of the details for the LUKR favourite. I've made a poll for members to go ahead and take part in so we can get that thing sorted. It was not the easiest thing to make this poll because I needed to make a survey or a poll or something along the lines where you can select one or two of 107 different choices. Oh, it was a pain in the ass to find. It was a pain in the ass to find. So I had to go through half a dozen different websites to eventually land on one that's allowed me to give 107 different choices just for one question. It was basically, select your favorite. Here's all the entries that made it through. Which one's your favorite? Let's just go from there. So over the coming days, um, before, during, and after the judging process has elapsed, I'm going to keep on coming back to the LUK, our favorite poll, and yeah, we'll see who won that one. The winners of the public favorites and the LUKR favorites will only win a printed brick. That's something that I don't think I made known clear enough at the very start, but the three main categories will obviously have prizes. You're only going to get a printed brick for winning the public favorites and LUKR favorites. So yeah, there's definitely that. Whew, that was a pretty good month. One thing that's for sure, posting all of these models on Facebook, I have received hundreds of notifications to say, this person and these many people have liked your post on Lego Rail. I was like, oh my god, I feel so popular, all these notifications. Love me, senpai. Oh, it was the best. And now that things have calmed down since midday when the cut-off timers has officially kicked in, all of a sudden it's kind of gone down a bit. All the same, there were a couple of people who wanted to enter, but either ultimately just didn't get their chance to, or I don't know, there was a couple of people that I spoke to, a couple of clubmates as well, who said, how long have we got left to enter? I said, well, you've got until today. And they said, okay, let me see if I can get something going. And, here we are now. Eventually, they just haven't gotten around to it, which is a bit of a shame because having more people entering the awards gives, more to talk about. But, well, that's that really. I can't really do much more about it. If they fail to enter in time, they fail to enter in time. That's a thing as well. I was thinking about this after this morning because sorry, let me just get this all tidied up. There we go. So the TLR Awards, this competition, I pitched this originally as a one-off. I wanted to do a competition like this for, I think I originally said over a year, and it really has been crazy long for me to kind of say to myself, I would love to do more for the Lego train hobby. I would love to do something like this on this kind of scale one day. So let's try and spend some time to think about how it can work. Again, thinking of the rules, trying to convince people to sponsor the competition. How do I go about getting the prizes? Am I going to be able to, or at least willing to, post internationally, which is something that's most likely going to happen anyways. But with everything that's kind of took place, it was only at this point where I was ready enough to make this competition happen. So I pitch unto you, would you like to see the TLR Awards come back again? This would definitely have to be a yearly event if it happens, in the same sense the Brick Train Awards are happening on a yearly basis as well. But I don't want to run this against the Brick Train Awards. I don't want this to happen kind of in spite of anything else. The only reason why this happened is because I have my own personal following online. The Brick Train Awards are still going to be happening later on this year in a couple of months, but they were originally supposed to happen in February, and because of how things have been going with all the people that kind of organized the event in the first place, not everyone is going to be around for that time. So maybe we could do the TLR Awards again. It could definitely work. I would love to try and keep it consistent with June, though. The entry times were announced, or all the details were announced in May. Actual submission time took place in June, and here we are at the beginning of July, kind of going into the process of, okay, let's get all the models together, get all these statistics made, and then go through the judging process. So if I could try and keep that up, that would be excellent. But I would need to. I suppose I would like to have a word with the people that run the Brick Train Awards to say to them, you know, the reason why I made this competition again, I got my own following. If I kept doing this, would you be okay with it? Because I don't want to be, don't want this to seem like its own competition against you. So yeah, definitely have to go from there. I'll have to make that poll as well. Yeah, a couple of people seem to be keen for this to come back. I might have to update the rules. Maybe I'll I mean, all the rules I've got are very fair. Again, it's very much in the vein of the Brick Train Awards, anyways. But there are some things I feel like can still be refined. Nothing really comes to the top of my head, but at the same time, this is the first time isn't ever going to be the most successful thing. So that's something to really kind of think on. Who's pinging me? Oh, it's on a different server. That's not that's not unreasonable, With all the pinging I've been doing today on Discord, it's not unreasonable for someone to ping me back. Oh man. So that's a good thing. If anybody here in chat has entered the TLR Awards, if you could amend or remove or change any of the rules, what would you change or remove? Now, I think one thing that a lot of people would probably change is the age range. Now, this is something that had the most amount of time being spent on because the original rule is okay, you have to be at least 16 years old to enter, and you will be amazed at what TFOs can make. I've been amazed a number of times in the past with what TFOs can make as well. When the LUKR Awards happened for UK trained fans, the models I was seeing for the TFOL categories, it was just staggering because, again, I remember in my teenage years, I was able to make the Giants, for goodness sakes. They're not the most realistic models ever, but I know what I can do, and it's possible for other people to make some excellent models at that young age. There is a kid in my LEGO user group who's currently 14 years old. He's got some amazing LEGO train models, like already to his name. He's got a nice big station made. He's got a good couple of mocks. And again, when you see and believe it, like, oh yeah, people, in their teenage years, they really can make something excellent. It would definitely be an interesting thing to try and introduce a T-fold category. But there's going to be so much for me to kind of keep an eye on as well because I'm running this basically by myself. Yes, I have a judging panel, but they're only taking part in the judging process. They're not necessarily, assisting in any way when it comes to the rules. They didn't help me settle on any of the rules being final. So things like that could definitely come into play. Probably have a separate category for digital versus physical models, or powered versus non-powered. Digital versus physical could be interesting. Best physical wagon versus and a winner for best digital wagon, a winner for best physical locomotive, and a winner for best digital locomotive. I can see that working, but again, I need to make sure if I'm going to be giving everybody prizes, I need to make sure that first of all I can afford all those prizes, and second of all, they're good prizes. Because if there's going to be so many categories, it might not really be the wisest thing to really invest in. It's not a bad thing either for a digital model to win a category, anyways. Again, so for best locomotive, let's say a digital model wins. Some people might be a bit salty with that, but at the same time, it's still a fine model. It's not so much difference compared to a physical model winning. Again, people have their preferences, but it's the same kind of model, just the way it's been formatted is a bit different. That's completely fine. I see your next comment, too many categories. That is something to take in, but I did want to have more categories. So, there was a thing when it came to making the categories too. I had the three that I had, so best loco, best wagon, best individual display. I was originally going to include best narrow gauge display, or narrow gauge item in general, best T-fold model, thinking about taking the age group a little bit younger, There was a couple. I think I even added best fictional design, something like that. And again, it was a bit more expansive. But because again, I'm hosting this by myself, it's being funded basically by myself. I have to buy the prizes to convince sponsors to take part. So if I'm going to be making more categories, I need to make more. I need to fund and get more prizes. I need to make sure I'm managing all the submissions that come through into the correct categories, and we can go from there. And if there's going to be this many categories, there needs to be loads of people entering the competition to enter that category in the first place. It would be very boring and a bit cheaty and unfair if, let's say, again, I got 38 people taking part in the TLR Awards. Some people entered multiple models, and oh, pardon me. So let's say again, about 38 people took part overall, and there's 7 or so categories in this competition. If somebody only entered 1 or 2 models out of potentially 7 categories, that's going to be, it definitely helps. But if one of the categories only has 2 or 3 models to select from to begin with, it's not so much of a competition because you have to have, again, it sounds really cheesy in the sense that it sounds pathetic. I think that's the best way to say it. Not so much cheesy, it just sounds pathetic where you've looking at a competition standpoint and you've only got a few models to choose from, as you know, to pick a winner. How do you really decide, okay, out of 3 models, let's just go with this one? There wasn't that much competition to begin with. That wasn't the best way for me to describe it, but it does make sense. I suppose, yeah, again, reading your next comment, it definitely works. So maybe once you've done it for a few more years, having more categories would work. Yes, it definitely would. But again, having this come back is something that a lot of people would want in the first place. Um, I think maybe next year, if this were to happen again, I could try and push this to. No, I probably shouldn't do that. I was gonna say probably keep it to YouTube, but having this being posted on Facebook as well definitely helps when it came to the publicity and getting more people to take part. So yeah, that's something I'm going to have to do one day as well. I don't want to do this in the same scale as the Brick Train Awards, however, because the Brick Train Awards are the big official competition when it comes to the Lego Train hobby. I don't want to have the same amount of categories and offer the same amount of prizes as they do because they have all of the sponsors for them. They've got everything they will need to have that scale of competition going. So I think on my own I could probably squeeze in a few more categories anyways, but it's a matter of just figuring out what I can do to justify and satisfy those categories in the first place. So yeah, there is it's definitely something there. Hello RK, good to see you made it. Tweetsy, having a bit of an issue with your messages there it seems. Union Pacific fan says, I have an extra tender and I don't know what to do with it. Maybe scrap it for parts, seeing as you said earlier you wanted to make another model. There we go. So Tweety Railroader says, personally next year I would add 2 additional categories. Best T-fold model for the 13 to 17. Yes, agreed. Best structure. Best structure comes in the same sense as the best individual display. It's just a different word. Best display, best structure, again, same thing. So kind of there, but it is basically one and the same. It's a bit unfair to see as an individual structure go up against a full layout, agreed, but there's no need to have them separate, and it doesn't really work in that sort of sense. But yeah, I think going forward in the future, a dedicated T-fold category would be the best thing for it. The only the only thing that I don't remember what this was like with the LUKR awards. Um, I think they had a T-fold category. I think, but with the T-fold category in particular, again, something for the 13 to 7-year-old age group. It's making sure that the people who are entering the T-fold category are actually T-folds, because someone who's in their 30s or 40s who's absolutely amazing with Lego could potentially cheat it and just enter into the T-fold category and kind of cheese an easy win, I suppose. It's again, something like that is impossible to police and kind of make sure it's all legit. But still, could definitely give it a go. Maybe industrial engines could be a category. No, that's very specific in the sense that industrial locomotives are its own type, but it's not so much in the sense that it works way if you were to separate best steam loco, best diesel loco, best electric loco. You have those kind of categories in place, not so much best industrial loco, because if it's a steam powered industrial loco or diesel powered industrial loco, it can fit into one of those anyways. So yeah, things like that could definitely work as submissions, but not as their own categories. It's again, something like that would definitely need to be understood because again, I feel like I have to explain it further, but I can't explain it further than that. It's something that works as a submission, but again, not as a category. That's the best thing I can really say for that. But yeah, it's definitely worth looking at what the BTAs have got going on, because that's something that could work in the future. So speaking of the Rick Train Awards, having mentioned them a couple of times now, I think I said this in a previous stream as well, where again originally they were supposed to happen in February. They happened in February last year. Um, in the debut year 2020 when they happened, I believe they were going through August, September, maybe October. I don't really remember when the first ones happened, but it was definitely in the second half of the year. And because of the success for it, they wanted to do it again straight away in the next year, which is why it took place in February. And that's also the reason why they want to do it in February again this year. But of course, you know, people have lives and it got pushed back from February all the way to potentially September. That's what I heard at least. I think it's going to be announced for something like September. It could be even later in the year, but I definitely think that the LUKR Awards that happened at the start of the year in place of them and my TLR Awards have definitely been able to keep up the excitement and everything else that's been going on in the Lego Train hobby. Speaking of Lego Train competitions that take place at the end of the year, Brick Model Railroader for the past, I think, 6 years now, have been doing Octrainber, and that's a thing that I only recently remembered as well because of the TLR Awards. It's also competition. So, Brick Model Railroader have been around for years, and I think their first Octrainber competition was in 2017, I think. It's something I only entered once because the first one they did was very general. Again, it's a Lego train competition, but I think it was from the second one onwards. After they did the first one, they were like, okay, people are interested, that's cool. But in the second one onwards, up until the most recent one, I think even this year, it's all been themed, which is a real kind of shame because I don't like the fact that they have made the October competition a theme. One year was, let's have a look actually, because BMR October, because this was fascinating. Yeah, here we go. So for last year's, it was called. The theme was critters, which I believe was a small locomotive of sorts. Yes, so the 2020 theme was dioramas, which was, to be fair, a very cool little idea because it definitely spawned some great ideas and some models from people who took part. But even then, with how they that looks pretty cool. Sorry, anyways, but with the competition being themed, I really did not like that. And that's really turned me off of Chamber ever since that first one because again the first one was generic. The second one going forward was all with a specific focus, and that's not something that I would personally want to do with my awards because I want to be as generic and open as possible because again that allows more people to enter. Oh, chat is going. To be fair, 6 out of what I did To be fair, 6 out of what did you say? Like 105? That's actually kind of amazing. 107 final submissions came through, yeah. Adding on to best TFOL category might be the best judge. Might be best to judge TFOL and AFOL models separately. So, for instance, best TFOL logo versus best AFOL logo. Yeah, that's probably how it would work. I think a TFOL category would be TFOL categories. I think this definitely worked in the Brick Train Awards, where there's best steam locomotive, best diesel locomotive, and best electric locomotive for the AFOL side. For the TFOL side, it would just be best TFOL locomotive. The TFOL side of things will not be expansive, but they would definitely be judged separately. I gave my tank engine 72 a back coupler so now I can connect to cars. What about a category of narrow gauge? Yes, I did mention that earlier. I would love to, hopefully, if this competition does come back again next year, I would like to include a narrow gauge category because it is something that I wanted to have this year. The only reason, again, that I didn't do so is to make sure that I had again. It was all about the prizes really because I have to fund the competition at the same time. So it's definitely possible. It's definitely an option for the future. I just need to make sure that things are expansive enough, and I've still got enough attention and enough of a draw to warrant all these prizes coming through. Kind of like an all-year community challenge. That's the community. That's the Oct Chamber stuff, I suppose. Yeah. Speaking of the community challenge, that's back on now, basically. So, if anybody's taking part in the community challenge, you can go ahead and start posting again because all the focus on the TLR Awards has kind of died down now. Everything that's happening with the TLR Awards from here up until the end is all going to be behind the scenes. Again, it's basically just the judging process now. It's going to be, I don't know how long, but there's nothing more to really go on with that. So if you want to submit any models for the community challenge, feel free to do so on my Discord server so we can do that again. Okay, still counts as engines or rolling stock. Yeah, so going off from there, again, a dedicated narrow gauge category is something that I did want to try and do. Yes, you can see there was definitely a couple of narrow gauge models that were entered this year, which is something that actually got me a bit excited because I do like narrow gauge, I promise. And whilst you could definitely enter it under the rolling stock or locomotive categories, it's something that you could again the valid reason for it there, but you can also treat it potentially as a separate thing. But again, having to go through the decision making process of okay, is it going to be enough to warrant narrow gauge being its own category? It can definitely work like that, but again, the attention has to be there. I have a piece of old Lego track from I think the old system era. I suppose you mean 9-volt track. If it's got metal rails, you got some 9-volt track. And if you have 9-volt track, you keep it and treasure it because it is rare and expensive nowadays. Do you have any idea when we'll hear the winner's announcement? Sadly, not really. I spoke to one of the other judges last night, and he says he's going to be next free, or he's. Let me start that again. I spoke to one of the judges last night, and he said that he's going to be available next Thursday, kind of onwards. So for the next couple of days, I'm not going to really be able to do anything. I can judge it on my own and kind of go from there. But a proper sit-down session with myself and the other judges is the best thing to do. And again, I need to make sure that everybody's available for that. I can only hope that next weekend everyone who is taking part in the judging process is going to be available because it would be better to kind of get this done sooner rather than later. I don't want to confer with one judge at one period of time, then confer with another judge later on if they have conflicting thoughts on which model should win. So yeah, it's gonna be light grey rails and dark grey things holding the track together. That's probably 12-volt track you got then. If you got 12-volt track, you keep and hold that even more so, because 12-volt track is even rarer to get. Oh man. All the same, I think you should just treasure the track you have to begin with, because it is genuinely like a really rare thing. It's plastic. Light rails? Light grey rails? Dark grey. Light grey rails? Yeah, that's 12-volt you got. Yeah, that 12-volt track is the only track that comes in that color. And yeah, it will be mostly plastic. There will be some metal parts in there, but again, that's 12-volt you got. Just going by the colors, at least, that's what I could deduce. Got to make a video real quick. Yep, okay. Okay. So that might have to do it for the stream, to be honest, because you sounded like Grunty from Banjo Kazooie. Right. Oh shit. I just realised I got left the bloody. Did I? Just one moment. No, okay. Oh, I thought I left the bedroom door open. I was going to say I could hear people walking outside. I thought I left the door open, but no, they're just being loud. Oh, had me worried for a second. I don't want a live audience. What is this? Yes. So the TLR Awards are basically. I can get rid of that from my stream notes now. Oh man, the TLR Awards were a very interesting thing to kind of go ahead and do. If it's popular enough to do this again next year, I will very happily do so, because again, this was a very interesting experience, and I think with everything that took place, it's definitely fine to do that. I suppose I would like to try and get more people sponsoring the competition, because both sponsors are UK based. They both ship internationally, but again, I need to kind of get some sponsors from home turf to begin with. So that's definitely something to kind of expand upon going forwards. And yeah, I think at this point, we can all kind of relax and kind of take in the fact that this is a thing that took place. It's very fascinating to look back, even at it's just hours after it finished, and even then, I'm still fascinated at the fact that this is a thing that happened to begin with. Let me quickly grab that one. Yeah, because that's going to be there. Okay. Is that all of the details there? Yeah, that's pretty much everything I have for this live stream. This stream was a bit of a mess, you know. It was a very rocky start, and kind of dragged out the discussion of the the rewards. You know what? Somebody sent their one of the email submissions I got was for the TRL rewards. That was a thing that I actually saw. So very obviously that was someone who was only just old enough. I mean, I know I have a bit of a slur when I speak, because I'm not exactly the clearest and the best speaker ever, despite doing YouTube videos. So TLR Awards, TRL rewards, like okay. I also have an old red Lego train wheel. An old red Lego train wheel? Oh, I know what you mean, yeah. I've got a few of those. I think are they one of those double rimmed ones? Like they got rims on the outside so you can't put them over points. Made a video on the track piece. Alright, let's quickly stand by. What track piece have you got? Yeah, that's a 12-volt piece. Yeah, so that is 12-volt track. So normally with those track pieces there is a middle rail, which is what kind of sits on that on the middle of that 2x8 piece. But you've only just got the outside rail pieces. So again, yeah, that's 12-volt track. That's, again, completely fine. The reason why it's all plastic again is because there is supposed to be a center rail that powers the 12-volt train to begin with. So yeah, even if that's the only 12-volt track you've got, still keep a hold of it because it's a good piece. Okay then, it's just gone 9 o'clock. Technically the hour has passed. It's again been a very clumsy stream, but it's pretty good. It's a pretty good process. I need to have a rest because I have had an exhausting few days. The past few days I've been getting on with a lot of, well, yeah, it's mainly been this entire week. I'm coming to think about it. I started off the week by doing some work on my layout. I had to make a Bricklink order on Monday or Tuesday. And for the past few days, I've been doing some Nerf stuff, which has been very exciting. I've got some more videos on the way from the Nerf side of things. And I finished the layout project that I had going on yesterday. That was all cool. Cleaned up the room, got some more Nerf things kind of tidied up and put away. Got plenty of videos recorded, so back to glad to be back on a sort of semi-regular uploading schedule. But yeah, it's been a very very exhausting week, and having to keep up with the TLR Awards in between all of that, it has been it's been a good time. Of all things, exhausting, yes, but it's also been a very good time. So I'm going to end the stream here before I start blabbering on and on. So thank you all ever so much for tuning in for the live stream, everyone, and thank you to everybody who took part in the TLR Awards. Seriously, the more people that took part in this competition was better, because obviously it creates more attention for the awards and increases the potential for this to come back next year. It probably will, but it will definitely be revised to be more expansive in some way, shape, or form. So time for the usual spill of stuff before I disappear. So make sure you are following me on Instagram and Flickr for some more behind the scenes action. I have a couple more clips to go out on my Instagram. I've been posting again on there recently, so if you want to see some more stuff for the Lego train hobby and some more Nerf things I've had going on, be sure to consider following me on Instagram. Make sure you are a member of my Discord server as well, because you can interact with a lot of like-minded individuals for the Nerf and Lego train hobbies. Make sure you be keeping an eye on my community tab for polls and updates. There have been a load of posts this past month, again, of all the Lego Train submissions that have come through for the TLR Awards. There's no doubt you've seen at least one of them come through on my community tab, and that's the most busy that tab has ever been, especially because of last month with how many times I've had to make posts. It's definitely been a great way to get the channel more recognition. So again, keep an eye on the community tab, because that's always going to see some regular posts and updates and polls and all that fun stuff for interaction sakes. Make sure you are liking and subscribing these videos if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next episode. Another upload will be going out tomorrow. It will be a Nerf video, so stick around for that. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.